just going to borrow your table right here for a second. All righty, we're going to go ahead and get started now. If everyone wouldn't mind standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much for coming to our meeting today here in beautiful Tracy. Can't be thankful enough for this weather. Holy cow. So we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off with some introductions. If you wouldn't mind saying your name, agency, and then if you're a commercial sponsor, take a couple minutes to tell everyone about your product. Shelly, we'll start with you.
Good morning, Shelly McMahon. I'm with Cal OES, and I'm also your chapter board of director.
That's quick.
Jeff Davis, Confire Telecommunications Specialist.
Jessica Neal, Cybersecurity Account Manager for Texas and Oklahoma.
Hi everyone, I'm Brenda Sarkissian and I am a Cybersecurity Account Manager for Motorola as well, and I'm a commercial speaker today. So today we'll be covering cybersecurity and managed detection and response.
Susie Rivera, City of Folsom retired.
Mandy Montalvo, Communications Manager at Elk Grove PD.
Anna Trindad, Stockton Fire, and your chapter secretary.
Hi, I'm Manny Vieira. I'm your CCAM and also a member of the Commercial Advisory Council.
Howdy, Craig Trigstad, CSI Telecommunications. I guess we'll be talking after Motorola.
Michael Proscia, City and County of San Francisco, Department of Technology, radio infrastructure, senior radio infrastructure, and also secondary frequency advisor for NAPCO.
Michael Priolo, Daily Wells Communications provider, land mobile radio for L3 Harris.
Hi, I'm Jamie Johnson with Motorola, and I support PSAPs in California with their call handling initiatives. Just wanted to make sure that for everyone in the room that you're aware that Motorola recently passed the Cal OES certification for our cloud call handling solution. So I'd be happy to speak with anyone that has any questions about that.
Hi, I'm John Aurelius with Public Safety Innovation up in Sacramento, and we'd be happy to work on your mobile command centers and specialty vehicles, whether we design, maintain, or upfit them for you.
Hi, I'm Davey Jones with JVC Kenwood, and I'm a solutions engineer for the government section, which is basically I work on systems through local dealers. So I work in the dealer channel. Thank you.
Good morning, Mike Beckstrand with Cal OES, and I am your chapter vice president.
Good morning, I'm Brenda Bruner, the dispatch manager for Alameda County Sheriff's Office and one of your board of directors.
I am Mary Quiros with Tracy Police Dispatch.
Michelle Elmore, Tracy Police Dispatch, and one of your board of directors.
Good morning, Carl Grover with the City of Roseville and your president-elect.
Jim Lencioni with the County of Placer, your chapter PIO.
Hi, everybody. I'm Larry Weber with the sales group, and I'm also the CCAM for CPRA.
The people online can't hear you.
Okay, I get it. It's kind of a weird mic, though, when you're listening in here. So, starting over. I'm Larry Weber with the sales group. I'm the vice CCAM for CPRA in Southern California, and we bring a lot of cool products to the dispatch centers. Right now we're doing a lot of new things with RGB spectrum at the desk and tying it in with the new real-time crime center craze that's going around the state. So we love to come and see your PDs. We're working with Tracy on the real-time crime center, by the way, and hope to work with your dispatch center as soon as you get some money.
Good morning. Great to see all you handsome and beautiful people this morning. I work with Larry, the sales group. We deal a lot with radio around here. They have antennas up there, a lot of antennas, and the company we rep is RFI Technology. For Motorola, we're a preferred vendor. Hope to be with Harris and JVC Kenwood as well. I'm sure you guys have used our product. So when they build out systems, I know that's beyond most of us right here, even myself, because the engineers are the ones that are pretty much designing the stuff, right? So that's my goal, is to be able to get the product there. But if you guys happen to be doing something local, be more than happy to get you guys some information on their antennas and their duplexers and their tower top amplifiers and all that magic RF stuff. So you guys have a great day.
Good morning, I'm Iggy Brigado. I'm a solutions engineer with JPS. We're an engineering house based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, where we design and manufacture communication interoperability and distribution products that can be transported over the network. We've got a lot of equipment right now up in the fire grounds up in Northern California, Eastern Oregon, and Idaho, where we can backhaul audio back into centralized locations over Starlink or load balancing off of LTE FirstNet. So if you have any needs for backhauling communications or one of the last analog voter products on the market, come see us. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you all very much. And thank you, Michelle, for hosting this meeting. I appreciate you. We're going to go ahead and jump into the summary of our Board of Directors reports. So before I hand the mic over to anybody, I just want to say a couple things. The first thing, in December, we're going to be doing the end of the year. I still haven't come up with a name for this, a good fancy name, but it's the end of the year door prize loyalty program. I don't know how to word it. But essentially every meeting that you attend, you get a ticket that gets put in. In December, we're going to draw a name for everybody. You know, every time that you attend, you put in more tickets. And you can be president in December to win. The other thing I wanted to draw your attention to, which I'm sure Manny will talk about the conference a lot more, but I wanted to talk about something specifically. At our conference that we're hosting, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, we have 2 post courses that we're offering. One of them is actually free. So if you go onto our website, look at the schedule, we have 2 post courses right here on September 30th. So it's a pre-conference event. I believe Dispatch Priming is the free one. Yeah, and that's hosted by Kim. What? It's been replaced. With a free one. Anyways, we do have 2 post courses. One is free. And there are still spots available. So if you are interested at all or need to get your credits in, please go sign up for those courses while there are still spots. And with that being said, I'm going to turn the mic over to Manny to tell you all about conferences and commercial activities.
All right. Well, sorry. I'll give an update of the national conference, which was held in Orlando in August. There were 245 exhibitors, 5,723 people registered, and 90% of them showed up. Let's see. They're saying that was 500 people less than Nashville and 700 more than Anaheim. So that's kind of the update of the national show. Okay, our show. Our show is, when is it? I don't even know anymore. October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in Los Angeles. And as of today, last month, we were completely sold out of our vendors. We have sold, I believe the number is somewhere around 85 vendor booths. So we are way ahead of what we thought we would be. I do have about 22 vendors on a back order list or wish list that we cannot accommodate. But moving forward to 2025 in Sacramento, I do have room for about 120 booths. So we should be in really good shape when it comes to that. Some of the cool things about our show,
we have an app, and Jim's probably going to talk about that because it's his baby, and I think it's really cool.
So I was in charge of the registrations for the show this year, and what we've done is try to make it as easy as possible. You can go online, sign up through calapco.org. Free exhibits hall passes first, and for pre-registrants, but for everybody that is registered for the event, you're also eligible to download the conference app, which gives you the updated speaker lists, gives you the room assignments, gives you all the events that are going on, allows you to interact with other people that are part of the app. You see all the sponsors that are on there, but we wanted to make this available specifically to make your conference experience easier, more enjoyable. We're going to be pushing that forward again to next year, just to give people the opportunity to, like I said, to have a big conference experience. We're trying to push this. It's not just a tabletop. There are training sessions and everything, like Manny said. It's a 3-day event. It's a pretty big event, and with California being the largest APCO chapter in the country, we have a lot of people to draw from and a lot of people to service as well. So we want to make this an experience for everybody and get as many people there as possible. But the app is available. Once you register, you do get an invite to download the app, and it tells you how to sign on to it and everything. So everything should be fully automated. And if you have issues, you know how to get a hold of me. Other people have, and I've gotten lots of emails about it, but so far everything's been pretty smooth.
All right, so just getting back to our show. So just to recap, so everybody knows what we're doing. If you just go on this app, once you register, you'll know. But Monday will be set up for the vendors from basically 12 to 5. We are having a meet and greet after at Augie's Pizza Brewery across the street. So please, if you're in town, come over and have some food with us and some drinks. I got some specials from the place, like $5 bourbons and a $5 beer and $5 wine. So that's going to be kind of fun. The show starts on Tuesday. We have an opening ceremony. The vendor hall opens at 10, goes till 5. Tuesday night you're on your own. Wednesday the show opens at 9 o'clock and closes at 4. And we're having a party after, whatever you want to call it. We're calling it Under the Stars. You can call it whatever you want. It's a full-fledged party. We have a band. We'll have hors d'oeuvres and a cash bar. Wednesday, we still have training in the morning, and then the closing ceremony, I believe, at 11 o'clock. So that's kind of the schedule for this year. I'm trying to think. I will be this year pre-selling for next year already, and we're going to be a year in advance, not 3 months before the show this time. So I already have a layout of next year's floor plan that will be held at the Convention Center on September 29th through October 3rd. So, and the order in which we will accept reservations will be those who registered in order this year will get first choice next year. I will give the exception of our sponsors. Our sponsors will get first choice, and then we'll go down from there. So once again, thank you for the sponsors, by the way. L3 Harris, woohoo. I'm looking forward to that. So that's all I got. It's going to be cool.
Thank you very much, Manny. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all there, hopefully. And with that, I'll turn it over to Carl for finance and budget and programs update, please.
Okay, so first the treasurer's report. This is from Jackie, and this is the August report. So for income, largely from the upcoming California APCO show, as was just talked about, income for August was $26,213.70. Expenses, largely credit card fees, And normal miscellaneous expenses, $6,960.86. So total income, $19,252.84, bringing the balance as of August 31st to $278,423.66. So we do have a lot of income right now that will be shared as we have that partnership with Southern California APCO. So as we have different incomes coming in from the show, those will be split across with Southern California APCO. In regards to the programs committee, so there is no chapter meeting next month, as we do have the California State APCO conference. In November, we will be in Dublin at the Alameda County Office of Emergency Services, November 14th, and then December 12th at the CHP headquarters in Sacramento. Any questions on either of those committee updates? Okay. If anyone has a desire to see details on the financial report, I'll have that at the registration table.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to go over the membership report for this month. We have 27 new members. The first one is from Apple, and that's a Kumar Chakra. Then we have Savannah Ivanyuk from Brentwood Police Department. We have a Tom Webb from CAL FIRE. We have 3 from the City of Stockton Police Department, and that is Anthony Garza, Melody Harris, and a Brandy Thomas. From Comba Telecom, we've got Ray Fott, Renee Martins, and a Chris Scruggs. From the County of Marin Department of Public Works, we have a Joseph Ford and a David Gonzalez. From CSI Communications, we have Craig Trickstad. And then there are 13 members from the California Office of Emergency Services, the Public Safety Communications section. I will skip all 13 of those. And then we have UC San Francisco Police Department, a Cecile Ruizal. And from Yuba City Police Department, we have a Stephanie Salgado. So, drum roll for the total of our membership is 879. So that's pretty great. The other item I want to talk about are the upcoming elections that we'll have in December. We will have 2 open board positions that are available for nominations. So please consider running for one of these 2 positions and come onto our board. So the nominations will be taken up to the start of our November meeting. So you can submit the nomination between now and even the day of our meeting. And then once we announce the candidates, the online voting will start right after that. And then in December, they will have the swearing-in ceremony, which will be at CHP headquarters. Okay, any questions for me? Yes, clarification. 2 board of director positions are available, and then we will have the vice president position that will be open for nominations for that as well. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you very much. All righty, with that being said, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Go get some bagels over there, some bananas, oranges. Use the restroom right out the door, and we'll see you back at 10 o'clock.
dreams. But don't forget, money ain't what it seems. They say, no telling there. Now you'll hear what they want you to hear. Pretty pop, finally too. Do you believe what they have in their sleeve? Boys, you'll never hear. Hide me away in your bedroom closet. Define success monetarily. You will never see the light of humanity.
Manny, take your seat. Manny, to your seat. Alrighty, so without further ado, I'd love to turn the floor over to Brenda and Jessica from Motorola to talk about their cybersecurity solutions.
Test. Okay, it's working. Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Wanted to get started with a question here. So, out of curiosity, by a show of hands here, how many of you have concerns for cybersecurity or breaches? Okay, there's a couple hands up. The people who didn't raise their hands, I hope I can go ahead and change your minds by the end of this presentation here. So my name is Brenda Sarkissian. I am a cybersecurity account manager at Motorola. And this is Jessica Neal. She's also another cybersecurity account manager at Motorola who flew in all the way from Texas. So we're all here. And today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity and why it's so important to keep your public safety network secure. Okay, so here we can see that ransomware continues to dominate. So our Threat Alliance team has done research, and these are the stats that we had pulled up. The average number of days of downtime, if you were to get breached, is 21 days. That is nearly 3 weeks of being down. On top of that, the average ransomware payment in 2023 was $650,000. My question that I like to ask my customers is, can you afford risk? It is very expensive once your network gets breached to get it back up and running. On top of that, it's a huge headache as well. So we want to help prevent that from happening. So here we can see how breaches have advanced within the past 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with the virus attacks. So this was generation 1, and it was in the late 1980s, and this is where personal computers started to get hacked. Virus attacks started coming towards the personal computers, and in response to that, we had created an antivirus to help protect those personal computers. In the second generation, this was the mid-1990s, this is where perimeter attacks started happening. And this is where businesses started to get breached and they started losing money. And in response to that, we had the firewall in order to help protect those businesses. Fast forward to generation 5, that's what's going on right now. We have added an extra layer of security to help protect your current network. So these are the systemic attacks, and one example I'd like to give you is the Colonial Pipeline. So what had happened in the Colonial Pipeline is they got breached by ransomware, and their system was completely shut down. So what caused for this to happen? There were fuel shortages, gas prices started getting really expensive, and so it not only affected the business, but it also affected the people around them. So my question to some people usually is, what would happen when your public safety network gets shut down? What would you do if your radios got breached? You know, those are something that you need up and running 24/7. Okay, and then you might ask why cybersecurity is critical to the public safety. So I'd like to describe this in 3 different ways: confidentiality, availability, and integrity. For confidentiality, we want to make sure that your sensitive information is secure and in the right hands. For integrity, we want to make sure that that sensitive information is not altered or tampered with. And then the third, the most important one, availability. We want to make sure that your systems are up and running 24/7, since they are very critical. Okay, this is an example of the cybersecurity landscape for public safety. And you might be asking, why is Motorola doing cybersecurity? So we have noticed that there has been a gap on making the public safety network safe and secure. And we want to make sure that those systems are all up and running 24/7. So we have acquired 2 different companies. One of them is Delta Risk, and one of them is Lunarline. And we have acquired them in 2020, so a couple years ago. And the reason why we acquired these 2 specific companies is because we wanted to make sure that their APs integrate tools into our systems. Okay, and here we can see that there's no such thing as a closed network. And when products start to advance, there's more room for threat vectors. And one of the examples I'd like to give is Smart Connect. Who here has heard of Smart Connect? Okay, great. So what is Smart Connect? So Smart Connect allows for easier visibility in the radio network, okay? So once there's that easier visibility, there is potential for threat vectors to get in there. And we want to make sure that those systems are safe and secure. So that's why we have something called managed detection and response. And I'll go ahead and do a deeper dive in the next couple of slides on this. But we want to make sure there's an extra layer of security to help secure these networks. And here you can see there have been cyber disruptions to 911 and dispatch centers. So our Threat Alliance team has done some research and pulled out these stats as well. And one of the examples I'd like to give you is Michigan 911. So in June of 2024, a couple months ago, Michigan 911 got breached. They got hit by ransomware, and what had happened was there were civilians trying to make calls into the dispatch center for emergencies, and the calls were not going through because their system was completely down. These systems are so crucial that they need to be up and running 24/7. What happens next? The bad actor, they go through the dispatch center into the enterprise network, and the whole county gets shut down. So we want to prevent this from happening. And here is our Motorola product portfolio. It has 3 different pillars. It consists of advisory, managed security, and recovery. For the advisory portion, we have professional services such as risk assessments and pen testing. And for pen testing, it's where we try and break into your network to see how secure it really is. If you're not too familiar with cybersecurity in your network and kind of want to start to get your feet wet, this is a great starting point for that. The second pillar is managed security. For managed security, we have something called MDR, and that's short for managed detection and response. And you might ask, what is MDR exactly? So, the analogy I like to use is imagine you have a home or a property that you want to secure, okay? You have a deadlock or deadbolt, you have a lock, and then you have a security system in place. I like to think of this as your antivirus. So fast forward a little bit, you're hearing on the news that there has been an influx of crime in your area. You want to have additional security to your house. Let's say you have a dog in the house. Let's say you have a pit bull in the house, okay? So besides this pit bull being a pet, what would it do? It will have 24/7 eyes on your house, okay? The next thing it would do is if there is any unusual activity in the house, it will start barking and notifying you. The next thing is once there's a person in your house that's not supposed to be there, someone's breaking into your house, the pit bull will attack. So that's kind of how I like to describe MDR. It's added protection to your network, just how that pit bull is an added protection to your house. The third pillar is recovery, And we have something called incident response planning, such as tabletop exercises. And for that one, it's a situation-based exercise where if you were to get breached, what are the next steps you would take? And we would help you, like, guide you through that. Okay, this is a topology for MDR for our radio system. And how this works is there's a red dot right there. That is a physical piece of hardware. It's also known as an AIRS node or a security sensor, and it sits behind the firewall. So what it does is it collects logs and sends it to the SOC to monitor 24/7. So who's in the SOC? In the SOC around the United States, we have 2 different locations. We have a location in Illinois and in Texas where we have certified engineers sitting there monitoring these logs 24/7. And then recently, what we've been noticing is the FBI has had new cybersecurity requirements, and Motorola helps you become CJIS compliance, and you might ask how. So in the previous slide, I mentioned that we have our product portfolio. So we help you guys by the professional services and MDR in order to help meet these requirements. And here we have PSTA. This is short for Public Safety Threat Alliance, and this is our Motorola-sponsored program. So we had created this program because we want to make sure the public safety is aware and knows on any cyber threats. If you guys want any cyber information, emails, newsletters, we have all of that in here. And guess what? It's completely free to join, and this is for anyone. Anyone can join this. I have a QR code here as well if you guys would like to scan it. It's a great way to kind of get your feet wet and understand what's going on in the cyber world. But yeah, I'll keep it up for a second if anyone wants to go ahead and scan this. Yeah, any questions here? Yes. Oh. Yeah.
So you have an attack coming in, and your device detects that, and you have a monitor, a live monitor somewhere in the world, and they're seeing this attack. How do they stop it?
Okay, so let me back up a little bit. So the way MDR works is we deploy it, right? We have the hardware that she mentioned, and that feeds the logs into our portal, our ActiveEye or a SOAR. You might be familiar with the term, security orchestration and event management. Oh, SIM, it's not SOAR. Apologies. And so all of this information is being fed into that SIM tool, which a lot of the work is being done by playbooks that we already have created. If I were to pull up a demo, you would see a whole line of pre-built playbooks and reports that are specific to Astro, specific to Flex, P1, Vesta, all of our systems. And so this is where, when she brought up earlier the previous acquisitions we had to acquire those specific companies because their IP worked the best with Motorola systems, right? You know, we've been building radio systems for, 90 years. And so, as many of you probably already know, that architecture is very, very delicate. And so when we realized we needed to incorporate further security controls, we had to go through quite a handful to figure out what was going to be the best and be the least disruptive. And so that's how we landed on the 2 that she mentioned. And so when an event comes through, a lot of that is going to be handled by AI and machine learning. So whenever we do deploy MDR, there's a bit of a learning curve, right? Because your network to their network is going to be completely different, from the amount of users you have on it to the activity that's going on. And so after that tuning period, as we refer to it, about 30 to 60 days, you'll see categories, so low, medium, high, and critical. And we work with you to develop a specific response plan to each one of those categories. And so you probably don't want to get an alert every time someone fat fingers their password, right? So a lot of those will be considered low, and so you're not going to get that alert. But should we get into something that's considered medium, high, critical, something that could affect your either day-to-day operations or potentially bring you down, that's when we're going to follow those preset procedures and say, hey, Mr. Customer, we're seeing X, Y, and Z occur on your network. Are you doing anything? Maybe we weren't aware. Maybe you're doing an update. But that's to let us know, hey, are we on the same page? And then we'll work with you on a specific response if it is something that we believe to be malicious. And so it goes from the AI first is going to look into it. If the AI cannot determine an accurate response, it's going to be sent over to one of our SOC analysts. And all of our SOC analysts, well, let me back up, 50% at least of our SOC analysts are previous public safety workers, whether it be from the IT side or from a field perspective. So they're already aware of these systems, they work with these systems, and they work with our product teams. So I hope that answers your question, but let me know if it didn't.
Yeah, and I have a follow-up question then. Does your system protect non-Motorola systems?
Yes, so when she showed the topology earlier, we can protect your enterprise network. So that would be, say, where maybe you have nice loggers or maybe, your email, all those type of things, absolutely. We can cover that as well, so you have a holistic view, because a potential use case, right, is someone could enter through your email, which this actually happened with a customer around here. I won't name their name, but they were sent a phishing email from their bank. And they said, hey, please click here. We need to verify some info. And the sheriff was like, yes, I need to do that. And it was about 3 months later until they realized that they had been hit with ransomware. So again, back to these new attacks that we're seeing. Attackers will either buy or gain access based on opportunity, and they'll sit in your systems, they'll try to spider web out, gain as much traction and foothold throughout, exfil as much data as possible to go sell it on the dark web, and then they're gonna give you the ransom note and say, hey, Mr. Customer, we've already sold all your data on the dark web, but we know you still need to work, so go ahead and pay us too. And that will lead to, when customers do end up paying, which we're neither here nor there. We're not cyber insurance people. We'll leave that to you to figure out what would be best in that scenario. But so that can lead you to getting hit for a second time as well. So there are a lot of best practices that go into this, and that's what our ProServe team is here to help you do. Any other questions?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I just want to know what is the weakest point on a trunk network that I was not aware of this.
So for Astro, so I am not an Astro engineer, so please forgive me. So I'm gonna take this one, but I might have to get back to you. So previously with the radio networks, right, there was nothing incoming and there was nothing outgoing from the radio network, right? The radio network was completely closed. Well, now that we have VPN, Cirrus Central, Smart Connect, Smart Incident, all these new applications and tools that help your police officers and dispatchers respond quicker, respond more efficiently, and be safer in that process, they also open up some additional vectors that an attacker could use to enter that network. So we want to make sure that we're using MDR to not only make sure that nothing malicious is coming in the network, but also that if there's anything weird that is unexpected going internally, we're flagging that as well, right? We're looking at the behavior of users as well. So maybe you've got John Smith is a system admin, right? All of a sudden he starts trying to change admin passwords, or he's trying to give himself access to other areas of the system that he shouldn't have. That's something that we would also flag as well and say, hey, Mr. Customer, are you aware of these attempted changes? so that we can help you respond. And we've had actually some great success with that. One of my customers out in Texas, we were able to see that a threat actor was externally hitting them with scans, trying to see if there was an open vector for them to enter. And we were able to respond and help them thwart that potential attack within just a few days.
So that means the breaches happen not via the radio side, but it's the dispatch side.
Well, it can happen from any side, right? I mean, the most common I would say is email, just because phishing attacks are very successful and attackers know that, so they tend to stick with what works. But if you have, say, an open port on your radio network or on your CAD, that's absolutely a potential entry point for an attacker.
Yeah, I never worried about this. I was the lead engineer for the EBR-CSA system for Alameda County. Worked with a lot of Motorola engineers many years now. So I will check onto this. I copied down your QR code. Thank you so much.
Perfect, yeah. And Brenda covers California specifically. She covers, oh, I'm gonna mess this up, NorCal, and then we have a colleague that covers SoCal as well. So if you do have any questions that relate specifically to your system and your architecture, let us know. We'll get an engineer on the call who will be able to say, you know, okay, maybe we don't necessarily need to cover this, but we absolutely do need to cover this, right? All of that's done on a case-by-case basis. I wouldn't sit here and blanket tell you you've got to do everything all at once. You know, it's going to be based on that customer, what works best for their schedule and their budget.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. And I will hand it back to Brenda.
Thank you all. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Craig Trigstad, for the few of you that don't know me. I'm with CSI Telecommunications. Bill Ruck's here as well. We know we've been here for, I don't know, Bill's been attending these meetings for probably 10, 20 years. Yeah, 20 years. So I think you guys are pretty, I think everybody here knows a little bit about us, but it occurred to me that you guys might not know everything about us, so I thought that we'd take a little time here to explain all of the things that we do and kind of what our tools are in our toolbox for you. Mike Newman, some of you may remember him. He passed away, unfortunately, in 2019, but he founded a company in 1958. He kind of jumped onto his dad's corporation. So CSI, little known fact, doesn't have anything to do with crime scene investigation. That name was created in 1958 and was Cafe Salvadori Imports. It was a coffee importing company that Mike came in and kind of created the telecommunications portion of it after his long and glorious careers with PG&E and an SP Railroad, where he was an employee there, engineer there, building out their microwave network for SP Railroad, which was the department was the Internal Network Technologies. So it was SPRINT. So that became Sprint. So I thought that's kind of an interesting thing. So Catherine, who is married to Mike, is now our president. We call her Madam President. She also handles a lot of the business, contract, billing, invoicing stuff for our firm. We relocated from San Francisco up to Novato, so that 3-hour drive trying to get through the North Financial District is no longer there if you want to come and visit us at any time. It's up on the, it's in a hangar, basically, on the old Hamilton Air Force Base. We are an engineering consulting firm, so I'm the engineer in charge, so I have a PE. Originally got it in 1993 in California. Subsequently, I've added Nevada, Oregon, Washington, and just got Hawaii. We have a project we're working on with another firm that I'll mention later, Hatfield Dawson, that has a project going out in Hawaii. So I needed to pick up that license too, coming up. Also, I'm a PMP certified project manager, so we can handle project management tasks and scope as well for you all. Here's who's who in the zoo. I broke it down. We have a small core group, basically Bill and myself, that work on projects. And then from there, we can kind of scale up or scale down. So George Kaiser was a longtime friend of mine. He has written textbooks on microwave design and fundamentals. So we'll use him occasionally on projects. He's also our representative on the TIA board, TIA 10, which is all about microwave, and he's also on the National Spectrum team as well. So we're kind of connected there. We have a long-standing history of being involved with these types of committees that create standards. Kind of going into that, I'm going to jump over to Bernie Olson. He recently decided to become emeritus. So we still pick his brain from time to time, but he was the original chair of TSB 88. So if you look at all of the coverage standards as far as how to model coverage and how to measure coverage, about half of that standard was written by him. He grabbed most of the information from his days when I knew him first at Motorola, when he was the head of the RDE department, and most of that information made it into TSB 88. Just a brilliant guy, fun guy to hang around with as well. Mike Del Fava was a former Santa Cruz comm manager. He comes up and works on our IT system, so servers and emails and so forth. And he's available for us if we ever got that odd IT thing. Tom Rubenstein is now the chair of the TSB 88 committee. He was another ex-Motorolan that worked with Bernie. So he's now our representative on that TSB 88 committee. So we still have a link into there. And then as far as scaling in and scaling out, we work with a number of other consultants. Greg Forrest, he has his own firm called foresttelly.com. We work with him a lot. We'll either prime a project and bring him in, or he'll prime a project and bring us in, just so that we have it really helps with our width as well as our breadth as far as bringing people to the table. Greg Glenn, I think he's talked here a number of times. We kind of linked up with him, even though he and I are both Exmos. We were working on a project in Contra Costa County, Craigor Peak. The text could not locate a source of interference, so we brought up another person that you can see there, Tom Brinkhotter, who is a former product manager of Anritsu. We worked with him when he developed the LMR Master spectrum analyzer. Brought him up. He's a big drone enthusiast. He has an FAA certified. He's a certified pilot. Drone pilot, and he puts his little spectrum analyzer onto his drone and flies it up and then starts triangulating. So we're able to find that interference through Tom's help in, what was it, a couple hours? and knocked on the door, and then Bill was along and brought David Hartzog from the FCC along, and they knocked on the door of the owner, who got a surprise and ended up getting a pretty good fine, which is what Greg found out and started talking to us, and he has been playing whack-a-mole with BDA interference in Sacramento County, so that's how we kind of started that that relationship. John Jackson, we also use. He was about 30-year Motorolan that was in their field service organization. Really great guy. I found out that he was volunteered to take the involuntary severance package. So I jumped on him, and he's been helping us out from time to time. He's out in Nevada, so we've had him work on some installation audits and so forth out there. And then, like I said, we can still scale up and scale down. Hatfield Dawson is a very reputable consulting group that's out of Seattle that we work with often, again, as well as Greg Forrest. So the three of us kind of form a little triumvirate, if you will, of who leads the project. I'm working with them right now on a project in Hawaii, and we're looking at and we're doing all the coverage mapping for PCERN, which the new the new Puget Sound group that is in King County, that's basically King County and City of Seattle and so forth. We're doing all their coverage mapping right now. We also sometimes use Introba IT consultants for if we need IT work. We're working with them right now with Metropolitan Water District. Myself and Greg from Hatfield Dawson, representing Hatfield Dawson, are doing the microwave, and we have JR working on the IT portion on the other side of the MPLS for all that networking that they need. We also, if we need to, bring in structural, civil, geotech engineering firms, working on Southampton right now for Solano County. I subcontracted out a geotech firm. We'll either, we can subcontract if it's easier for you guys as far as your contracting purposes go, or if you guys bring in your own geotech, that's great too. Same thing for civils. We've been working with HEI for Humboldt County for a number of sites where there was a combination of them subcontracting to us and then moving on and actually having a direct contract with a client. We're happy to do that either way. And then other consulting firms as needed. I don't know if some of you may remember Teresa Murray, who is the lead, who is the director at both Folsom. I knew her from Folsom, Sacramento, Regional Fire in Sac PD. She had a consulting firm, Mirror Consulting, that does kind of operational administration stuff. So I was working with her kind of on the technical end, working on a JPA, trying to get Solano County together for doing a JPA. So we'll work with folks like that. We know Clay Hawkins was someone that we were working with, who was a former sheriff as well as county manager down in Calaveras County. So if the need arises to bring in an operational manager person, we have the network. That was the one thing I think Mike, in addition to being a technical, genius for a lot of the stuff that he did as far as microwave, his best quality, I think, was networking. When I got to CSI, I was sent a PDF file, which was a Rolodex, and my God, I think there's I think it's about a 80-page PDF with 8 contacts, per page in it. He just a tremendous amount of networking that Mike has done in the past. Everything from FCCs to other contractors and so forth. Okay. We're pretty big in Northern California. We really try to focus our efforts on here. I think we have really good experience and know the dirt and know the folks. So here's some of the counties, or at least or cities within the counties. And I just colored in the counties that we've worked with in the past, so some of these were direct clients or projects that CSI was involved with, and some of these were things that myself that I did working in my Motorola days. And this is kind of the big slide, the eye chart. So we do everything soup to nuts, and we have a lot of tools in the Swiss Army knife. Won't go through all of them, obviously, but we'll start with needs analysis. We can go in and see what's going on, troubleshooting, and going from there, doing in-building coverage testing, trying to determine what is the problem. There's so many times that a vendor will come in and try to sell you a solution without even knowing the problem. We had one client. I don't want to talk bad about the vendor, but the vendor came in and sold them a brand new trunking system for $3 million, and their old system was having problems. Well, the reason their old system was having problems was that they had a little Roan 25 tower on the top of their police dispatch center that was responsible for all of the links for the rest of the system, and they had their microwave dishes on there, and that thing would sway in the wind, and they'd lose the communications when it was windy, and it's like, why didn't you guys kind of root cause what was going on first before selling a solution? So anyway, so we'll do that. We're very big into grounding. That's kind of one of our main passions, especially bills. Making sure that everything is bonded correctly, because in the end, you're being tied to a 160, 180 foot lightning rod, right? So there's got to be special things that occur to that, and a lot of electrical engineers that come through and do building plans or do construction plans don't understand that, and they don't understand radio. A lot of times they'll say, hey, we're going to just put this. We'll put this stranded coax out in the dirt, and that meets electrical code. Well, yes, it does, but when you put stranded out in the dirt, little patina will form between the strands, and you'll get diode junctions, which will create IM mixing points. So things like that we bring kind of an expertise to, as far as how to construct a radio site, how to construct a dispatch center, and how to properly ground it, and so forth. Let's see, anything else there? We do a lot of frequency support. We have a lot of clients that stay on with us after we're done with the project. And one of the things Mike wanted to do is kind of keep in contact with them. So, and a big part of Bill's job, he is a coordinator in the broadcast world for Part 47. And you see him all the time here for the Region 6 meetings and the APCO and the frequency meetings. Is we'll take care of those LOCs. We'll take a look and evaluate when you get an LOC whether or not. Oh, I'm sorry, ex-Motorola and letters of concurrence. I shouldn't say. I fell into the acronym trap again. So letters of concurrence. We'll take a look and make sure that those are okay. On the microwave side, we work with a coordinator, and we'll do the prior coordination notices, PCNs. We'll take a look at those and make sure that you're okay there if they flag something that we need to look at. And we'll represent you on frequencies, frequency issues, keeping track of your renewals and so forth if you need. So that's something that we like to do to kind of keep in contact with our clients between projects. What else do we have here? Yeah. Oops. There we go. So some sample projects here. This one is before I joined, but kind of pointed out because we like to take on we don't like cookie cutter projects really. We try to do things that our value, I guess, is best when we're doing the oddball or the difficult things to do. So this is Hawkins Peak up in Alpine County that Bill was involved with, as well as a predecessor of mine, Tom Crota. And this was a cell site. This was a solar site only. So that big A-frame was basically designed by Tom Crota. As far as how it was laid out, obviously it got a structural to do the actual load calcs and so forth. But it was built out to support be completely off grid for the year, and it's worked like a champ since 2011. This is one that I'm actually going out on Monday to give another presentation to the county commissioners. They were in a world of hurt when we came out there. Steve Overacker actually was with our group at that point. And they had one board member that was convinced that they should fire the entire communications department and just jump on the state system that was being built out. And so we did an evaluation initially and realized that the state was not going to support them if their system went down, if they had sites go down and so forth. They were low on the priority. And the fact that they're building out an 800 megahertz system for an area with vast amounts of land and terrain, it just did not make sense. So we said, no, we think that you need to basically refurbish your VHF system and keep your comm managers. So that's what we've been doing. Unfortunately, the county commissioners, 5 people are basically either ranchers or miners, and they have a policy that they will not go into debt. So it's been being built slowly out. Their previous budget, I think, for anything communications was like $20,000 or $30,000 a year for maintenance. So now we're convincing them that they need to spend, a few $1,000,000 to build out, 6 sites and all of the conventional channels and so forth that we have. So that's been a fun project. Again, I need to go on Monday and tell them that they need to spend another couple million. So I got my Kevlar vest, and it's just part of the job. Oops, went down. Whoa, there we go. NAPA. NAPA was one Bill's been heavily involved with. Bernie was too. They had some VHF simulcast issues. The sheriff really complained about the audio quality and coverage. So we went to task. Casey Whiteman was their radio comm manager. He just took a leave, but here's another one where we did simulcast optimization. We went back to the drawing board and plopped their stuff in a computer predictive modeling. We work with a company called EDX. They develop a software package called Signal Pro. And Bernie actually, being the simulcast, with a heavy simulcast background that he had, worked with them to improve the modeling program for simulcast. They weren't using, not to get too technical, but they weren't taking into account the phasing versus the capture ratios of simulcast, which is the kind of the critical thing, correctly. They were either saying, okay, you're either captured or you're in phase, and we don't care about that curve in between. And we basically got, improved their algorithms to account for that. So anyway, we assisted. The Casey got a nice letter from the sheriff complimenting him on the improvements, and we've been kind of going forward with that. We've subsequently been reviewing their in-building coverage requests. They are having a lot of wine caves that wanted to put BDAs in, so that was something that was interesting. thing to do. Solano, I've been working with since I started a project with them for the initial. It was not initially with Solano, but with Vacaville Fairfield, replacing their existing what was their existing 800 megahertz system, simulcast system. We built that out, and in the middle of that time, Solano County purchased a core that we then leveraged to and used for the Fairfield Vacaville system, and since then there's been a effort to create a county-wide system. So there's been a myriad of things with that, but we're developing sites there, and that was one of the things was that the radio vendor came in with a quote for doing a turnkey site build. You know, just give us the land and we'll build out the site. And it came out to I think $900,000 or something, some odd number. So now we're going in. Solano's going to purchase the tower directly. They're going to purchase the shelter directly. I located a shelter company that builds that doesn't make shelters. They refurbish old cell towers, cell site tower shelters. So we're bringing that in, and we're gonna be bringing in that whole site for under half the cost of what the radio vendor wanted. And you know, and now we're including our, you know, we're subcontracting out the geotech and the civil and so forth. So that's kind of a fun thing. Solano also elected going forward after the second simulcast that will be added, covering Vallejo and Benicia. The subsequent single sites, we're going to implement. I'm going to work with them to implement themselves. So their techs are going to go in and build out these sites, install the radios. I'll do the project management and engineering, and then we'll bring in the radio vendor on a T&M basis to do their required optimization for the sites. So we think we're going to be able to save a few $1 million on that project as well, going that direction. I wanted to throw this in. It's something Bill and I worked on. So we do specialize in troubleshooting and the difficult things. This is one of our clients. I'm not going to say who because, but this is what we encountered once after their maintenance provider left it like this. They had a 5-year maintenance agreement with one of the local shops in Northern California. Better not. I guess I could say because they're no longer in business, but this is what we had: alligator clips, things tied together, and just a rat's mess. So we were tracing cables and kind of getting our hands on all the communication circuits and so forth. So we'll do big things and we'll do, you know. We'll dive down into the minutia as well. So that's kind of, again, kind of the soup to nuts philosophy we have. So I don't know how I'm doing in time. So you can reach us in our Novato office, worldwide headquarters, where Kathy and Bill are. And there's my home office number too, if you wish. And I guess I got about 4 or 5 minutes if anybody has questions or. Yes?
When you do the tower grounding, when you do the tower grounding, you have something called R56 standard.
So R56, I like R56. Shane Moore, I know Shane Morris. He was a ST manager at Motorola. R56 is not a standard, though. That's one thing that we want to mention is that R56 are guidelines. And back when it came out in the 80s, it was basically meant I think there are like 5 engineers at Motorola came out and said, okay, let's let's develop our best practices. And they threw together some specs that don't look at all like what it looks like now. It was a manual about yay thin. I do give Shane a lot of credit. They're now in version C, but it's a guideline, and the guidelines were originally created and still to as a tool for Motorola to say, okay, if you don't follow these, we're not warranting our equipment if something happens because of a grounding issue, or or a safety issue. We want, and if there's big safety issues that we see, we're not going to put our employees on it. That's great. And what they have done though is they have incorporated actual industry standards. So that's what we generally specify when we do our systems. We'll specify ATIS, Alliance for Telecom and Information Systems. They have a series of specifications: 0600 333, 0600 334, 313, I think, for dispatch centers. We'll specify those. We'll specify TIA standards in some cases. And for the most part, our standards the standards that we specify are similar to R56, because R56 has now dropped the majority of their internal recommendations to specifying industry standards. The one thing that we do disagree on, and we can go back and forth on this, is the internal ground halo. And Bill is great about talking about this, but but we believe that the halo is still a better way of doing things, having it a fully connected system, and then tied down in the corners. And because it's a bond, it creates a better bond, and it also creates
There's still a copper ring going on?
What?
Copper ring.
Yeah, copper. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, number two. Yeah, number two. Copper. Generally bare solid for that. But it creates induction. It creates an inductive resistance per se, as it were. Am I getting that right, Bill? To the to the lightning, because lightning is an AC event, not a DC event. So that's why you want the inductive properties of the ground ring, and as well as making sure everything is bonded and tied and distributed to the ground as much as you can. So that's our one probably major difference between ourselves and R56. And previous versions, I think the version O of R56 did actually call for a ground halo. And if you look at a lot of the Motorola shelters, that the R56 guys went over and clipped and basically went over and clipped all the corners off, as well as a 6-inch gap. Their thought is that it creates a ground loop, but that's not kind of our and there'd be current going on that ground. But it's like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I do have one more question regarding this polarity on a 100-foot tower antenna.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I detect the receive signal is coming, but we don't know the polarities change on the paraxle on the antenna, and it was not coming down with the waveguide correctly. Is there any way you can check it without taking down the antenna?
So you're looking to check VisWAR on the receive antenna?
Yes.
Yeah. You can sweep it, obviously. TXRX actually makes a product that I got a demo. I handed it off to one of the shops that to try out. It's it's actually you put it on your receive on the outside, on your input from your receive antenna, and it will send off a pulse occasionally up the receive antenna and check for VisWAR. So, and that really intrigued me. In fact, what I'm hoping to do, a lot of times, one of my things is, right, no single point of failure, and that's been one of the things, you get a receive antenna. Sorry to go off topic into the weeds here, but you'll get a receive antenna, and that's generally your single point of failure for the site, right? Because you'll generally spread your TX, your transmitters across multiple antennas due to combining losses or whatnot. So one of the thoughts, which I want to try with a client at some point, is to have this, is to use this device as well as an antenna switch, so as it, and then have redundant antennas, so that as you ping this antenna, if it pings bad, it'll just automatically send it has a relay output, so just plop it into an antenna switch and switch over to the secondary receive antenna.
Oh, so that way you can check it.
Yeah, I want to do that at some point. I'm looking for a case use of it.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Craig. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick networking break. We will reconvene at 11:15. So thank you all.
They say I'll write disposable music. I say that I fight for my right to sing what I want. They'll try to finagle me, sign here or there, but I'd rather bleed. Do, 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 do. I'm the voice you'll never hear. Hide me away in your bedroom closet. Do, 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 do. Exploit our dreams, but don't forget money ain't what it seems. They say no talent there. Now you'll hear what they want you to hear. Pretty pop, finally too. Do you believe what they have in their sleeve? Voice you'll never hear. Hide me away in your bedroom closet. Define success monetarily. You will never see the light of humanity. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do.
Alrighty, so if you guys wouldn't mind, help me welcome Gerard from Cal OES to give the update about cybersecurity integration. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gerard Legge. I'm here to talk about the Cal OES Cybersecurity Integration Center. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we do, and I'm going to kind of talk about a lot of things. So first of all, I work for Cal OES, more specifically Homeland Security Division, California Cybersecurity Integration Center. I actually hold 2 titles within Cal OES 2-for-1 Special. Kind of weird, right? I'm the Cyber Operations Branch Chief. I've been that for the last 3 years. I'm also the Information Security Officer. I've been that for the last 2-3 months. I've been in the state service for about 6 years, and private sector before that for 19 years. I used to work for Hewlett-Packard. I used to do a lot of threat hunting, really geeky stuff, forensics. And for the state, I've been mostly ISO roles. So I speak both technical and executive. So yeah, I can do both. This is the agenda. I do realize that I looked at the agenda and I looked at the agenda today, and that I'm all that's standing between you guys and lunch. So I'll try to make it, I will try to make it as brief as I can. And it's exciting also, so maybe you'll forget about lunch. So this is some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. IC3, if you ever get impacted by a cybersecurity event, please contact the FBI. The FBI will tell you to put in a complaint here at IC3. These are the stats over here. As you can tell, it's escalating. It sucks to be on the losses side because that's what people are estimating, right? How many of you have tried to buy a car in the recent months? Yeah. Can you imagine that some keyboard jockey stopped you from buying a car? That's crazy, right? Yeah, we'll get into more stuff that actually happened. That has real life consequences. The cyber stuff. There's a huge convergence between stuff that happens in the digital world, stuff that happens in our world. So this is the Microsoft Digital Defense Report. They talked about, hey, fundamental cyber hygiene, right? 99%. Basic security hygiene still protects against 99% of attacks. Nobody knows what that means in English. What does basic security hygiene look like? If somebody said, hey, basic security hygiene, I'm like, okay, well, name all the stuff and what do I check so I can check it off when I'm auditing my network. Most people couldn't do that. Most people have no clue. In fact, all the people that do IT, when you ask them that question, that's one of my interview questions. What does this look like? What would you check? And a lot of people can't do it. So one of the things is, hey, let's do multi-factor authentication. Kind of cool, right? In that same Microsoft report, it says, hey, it stops 99.2% of all the attacks. Notice it doesn't say 100%, right? So you think about it, there's a lot of attacks going on right now, and it only stops 99.2%. So it does get through. A lot of people don't think it can, but it does. We call this token stealing. That's how you do it. Apply zero trust, really geeky stuff. Go look it up. Go down the rabbit hole. XDR, that kind of stuff over there. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like, when she talked about the thing about, hey, we went from antivirus to now we're going to like EDR, XDR stuff. The difference is one's signature-based, the other's heuristic-based. So the signature-based stuff is like, hey, if it looks like this exact duck, that's the bad thing. But if there's variations of this duck, the old antivirus couldn't figure it out. The new ones do it by heuristics. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, swims like a duck, that's probably a duck. That's how it works. It's kind of like a fuzzy logic thing, right? So it's much better, much better at catching the bad guys, right? A lot of people don't know this, but then to change signatures, I'll tell you guys. I used to build malware before, a long time ago, when I was at HP, just for S&Gs. I got my stuff to live on my corporate laptop for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. It got caught because I made a syntax error, and the banner came up, and I didn't alter that. And so that looked like the duck, and that's how I got caught. And of course, we had a close vendor relationship, so they told me, hey, can you send me source code? I was like, I just spent 30 minutes making this, man. That's how fast it took. It took me 3 hours to think about it, 30 minutes to make it. To change it, it would take me 2 seconds to get past the signature. It's that easy. So a lot of people don't understand how hard it is. The other part that they have over there is keep up to date. Unpatched and out-of-date systems are key reason. So when you think about it, so let me talk about different systems first. IT is the stuff we all use, right? All the browsers and stuff like that, right? OT, operational technology, is the stuff that some of these 911 systems are on. They're dedicated on a certain version of the OS. If you don't use that OS, it don't work, right? So when you talk about OT, that's one of the things that keeps you from patching it, is that you got software that did it. When I was at HP, we used to have something that was, it was circa 2010, and I found out about someplace called, we used to call it the Ugly Net, because we used to have really old systems in there, NT4. And I was like, oh my God, why do we still have this here? $1 million a week is why we still have it. So there's got to be a business reason why you need to keep stuff, old stuff, in there, right? Competitive stuff. Everything should be done for a business reason. That's one thing that a lot of people forget. It's not about patching. It's not about security. It's about the business reason. Risk is equal to, impact plus the probability of it, right? Protect data, knowing where your stuff is located. That's important. My team responds to breaches all over the state of California. A lot of times when people, when they get hit, I have no idea what was on that server. And it's having huge ramifications. Later on, I'm going to talk about a certain assembly bill, 2355, that was passed in 2023 or 2022. It mandates that schools report breaches. I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you guys that story about a school that didn't report it because I couldn't prove that the data got stolen. So this thing over here, this is one of those things that I tell people about, CIS critical controls. This is what good looks like. I know it's a huge thing, but what happens is that a lot of people have never seen this before, but this is how you measure your cybersecurity. It's measurable. It does it by 18 families, 3 groups. This is how you do it. Just tell your guys, IT guys, hey, have you ever heard of this? No, this is just the CIS. So this is like what were they called? Computer for I think they're either a consortium or Computer Internet Security. It's a firm. It's actually a nonprofit, and they published this thing over here. SANS used to use it. SANS training used to use it. SANS used to have it called the SANS Top 20. Now it's called the CIS 18. So when you're doing benchmarks, like DoD has a STIGs and SCAP when you measure how hard your computers are to break into. They call it a CIS benchmark. They call it a STIG benchmark. CIS also has a benchmark for it to see how hard it is. But but this thing over here is how you would look at your entire network. What happens is that they break it into 18 families, number 1, of course, being the most important, till 18 being the least important. And inside each one is implementation groups to show how close you are to it, to getting it done. It's really important. It's one of those things that a lot of people need to know about. If your IT people don't know this, yeah, you might want to get with the times. So how far behind are we? We're talking about staffing. So this is a Forbes article that I found from August 16, 2024. 4 million jobs are vacant. Yeah, so the demand for this stuff is going to grow. It's going to outpace the normal growth rate of 3%. It's going to be this job sector is going to grow 32%. And so basically what I'm saying is that it's going to get worse. All these hacks are going to get worse. Gap in cybersecurity skills and talent is expanding rapidly. 71% of them have not filled their cybersecurity roles. When they talked about what happens? Yeah, you get hit by a ransomware attack. You're lucky if you can survive with 3 weeks. The average is 4 weeks in the state of California. 4 weeks. The first week, you're down 95%. 95%. So that's how bad it can get. So I'm here, with that as a backdrop, I'm here to talk about, hey, the place that I work at, the CalSIC. Our primary mission, reduce the likelihood and severity of cyber incidents, serve as a central organizing hub for all the state's cybersecurity activities. So if something happens to a vendor that supports 7 state agencies, all of a sudden it becomes my problem. Even though it's the vendor that got hacked, I have to work with the vendor and make sure I keep the governor up to date about what's going on. We coordinate information sharing. I'm going to talk about something called common vulnerabilities and exposure. These are vulnerabilities that get reported. And what happens is people take a look at them and see if it's valid, and they issue a CVE and a CVSS rating score. 10 is the best. That means that if a hacker got their hands on this, you could be standing still, they could hit your box from across the world, and it'll be game over. I just saw one. There's always a 10 that comes out every now and then. Anything between 9 and 10, it's a bad day for you. And what's even worse is if it's a 9 and 10 and there's no patch for it, that's when it gets really bad for you. A good example of this thing was something called the MoveIt vulnerability. A lot of people lost a lot of data because they were able to breach all these file transfer services that had tons of PII in it. Personally identifiable information. Social security numbers, date of birth, full names, address, telephone numbers, stuff like that, okay? So that's what we do, coordinate information sharing for these type of vulnerabilities. We also assess risk, prioritize threats, and provide warnings of cyber attacks. So sometimes it's a bad day when my team comes with either the FBI, CISA, or DHS Homeland Security investigations. We will do door knocks to say, hey, we have it on good information, on good intel that there's somebody in your network. And some people say, what do we do? And this is where we come in. We help you basically fight in a burning home. This is what we're doing. We're fighting in your house, right? Basically, you're going toe-to-toe with an adversary that's inside your network, and we help you identify the attacker, move to contact with them, contain them, and eradicate them. So we do these, we do all those steps. If it's big enough, this is where CalOS gets involved. If it's big enough and it's like a city or county, we can actually do, they can do a disaster declaration, and CalOS IT, we can step in. So that's kind of why they probably gave me the dual roles, because we can start seeing some of these things happen. We also, the Governor's Cybersecurity Task Force, we've developed statewide security strategies. We do publish stuff every now and then, how to do it. And the last part, establish a cyber incident response team. That's the team that I am responsible for. We actually have, we have about, once we hire everybody, we'll be about 21. Right now, we're at about 16 for the entire state. And we help both public and private entities. Of course, with only 16 folks, we kind of prioritize things for, state entities, cities, educational institutions, right? Anything that's public. We'll help private if there's a nexus for critical infrastructure. So people like PG&E, all the water agencies, they actually have my number, and they actually have my name and number, and they call me up every now and then just to say what's up, So we're trying to keep the, the side channels alerted so that in case something really bad happens, yeah, we can help out. So the CalSIC is one of those weird, it's a weird entity that's inside CalOS. We're not actually made out of just one entity. So CalOS is part of it. Also, we have CalGuard. So elements of the, both Army and Air Force Guards are actually working the CalSIC on a full-time basis. We also have CDT. California Department of Technology is responsible for the executive branch of government. All the state entities report up to them for their IT stuff. We also have CHP. I have sworn officers under me. It's kind of cool because now I get out of jury duty. We also have somebody that hangs out at the FBI. He's a retired FBI. He spends 2 days at the FBI. A lot of times we get those hey, you know, somebody's coming down. Somebody's in your network, right? We also have CISA. CISA actually sits in the same building with us. They'll come by every now and then. One of the persons high up in CISA, he used to be the deputy commander over the CalSIC. And we also have people from healthcare, the healthcare side. So in case we reach out to you and say, hey, you know, there's something in your network, are you guys okay? Or there's been intel that says you guys have been breached, are you guys okay? It behooves you to answer, because if you don't, all the healthcare, all the unemployment will cut off stuff to your city. If you're, you know, they're gonna say, hey, you guys are tainted, we're not gonna talk to you. I've had that happen where it was bad intel. We sent out something to them, and they didn't respond back, and we cut them off. And they said, why didn't you cut us off? You know, why did you cut us off? Why didn't you guys respond? So it was kind of one of those tit for tat things. So this is what we do. This is where we're getting into the weeds. We get something called open source intel. We get closed source. That means we pay for it. We get internal stuff. That means that my team generates whenever we go on incident response or whatever people share with us. And communities, MSISAC, those are information sharing groups. We get all of those, and we do cyber threat intelligence from there, put it all together, and we produce products. Excuse me. So these are, we have both the tactical and strategic intel groups. They create these sample cyber advisors. If you sign up for them, we send it to you almost on a daily basis. And we tell, some people love them because it's a one-stop shop where we send everything to you. Some people hate it because, hey, this doesn't concern me. We don't know. We just send whatever's out there, whatever is actionable intel. So when I looked at Copilot, this is I'm cheating with the Microsoft AI over here. I asked it, hey, how many CVEs do we get a year? And it says about 52,000 CVEs, so not all of them stick. But it's, you know, Copilot is telling me at the end of the year, we're probably going to get 34,000. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. That's a lot of bad things happening in this world. With AI, it's going to get even worse. It's kind of, you know, if the bad guys use AI, we can use AI too on the good side, but on the bad side, yeah. So we also work hand in hand with something called the California Fusion Centers, right? Better check on my time here. Okay, so the Fusion Centers, what we do with the Fusion Centers is they are the people that are at the front lines, right? So we actually, the CalSIC actually has people down at the lower Fusion Centers. So down at San Diego, we have an analyst there. In Okayak, yes, Orange County has their own Fusion Center for that one county. It's money, okay? JRIC, which is does a lot of the LA region, we have one there too. We have actually 2 people there. We're trying to hire 1 more person there. So down south, we have quite a few assets that are down, you know, deployed. Like so Orange County, we also have one position over there too. So we have a lot of forward deployed assets over there. For Northern California, we're trying to look at putting somebody in the NICRIC, the Northern California stuff, anything that touches water. Yeah, that's a, you know, and also we have CCIC, Central California Intelligence Center, excuse me, CCIC. They will actually come, if you contact them, they will actually come out and do a vulnerability scan on the inside, an unauthenticated scan, just to see what the inside of your network looks like. So this is how it looks like in California, year to date. 366 incidents, and this is already September, 9 months. That's about 40 per month, 1 per day. If you look at the bottom one over here, I don't think you guys can see it, but at the bottom over here, this one over here is ransomware. That's a big number. It's in the hundreds. That means there's over 100-something people who got impacted by ransomware in one way or another, right? There's this thing over here called AB 2355. It mandates that all schools report to us that if there's a cyber event. There's 21 of them already, right? And with a lot of them being ransomware. So here's the kicker. It mandates that they report to us. And remember the thing I told you guys about notification? If you lose 500 or more PII in the state of California, you have to report it to Cal DOJ. You have to go to the Cal DOJ site and report it. However, once you get lawyers involved, it gets kind of shysty. I'm going to tell you guys right now. I had a school district tell me that they lost 100. With our tools at the CalSTIC, we can see that they lost 140 gigabytes worth of information, but we can't see what information. Their lawyer said, "Oh, good, then nothing left. Yeah, no PII left because you guys can't tell us." And yeah, I was kind of glad that my kids don't go to that school district, needless to say. But then, we can't say anything. That's Cal OES. We are, public servants. We're going to keep it quiet. We'll stay within the limits of the law. And so what happens is that fast forward later on, hey, everybody's going to college, right? FAFSA is going on. All of a sudden, there's a huge influx of fraudulent California applications in the FAFSA, right? So it's one of those things that they're going to have to research it, and then, remember I told you about CHP? They're in our ranks. We're going to see what schools these people belong to. It would be interesting if it's one of those ones that didn't declare a breach. So yeah, it's going to be one of those things that we're going to take a look at. Maybe we have to fine-tune the law for 2355 so that you don't have to prove. It's just, hey, if it's more than likely, then yeah, you should declare it. I've seen a lot of entities, schools, that actually have taken the high road and actually have said, yeah, we can't prove it, but yeah, we're going to declare breach. So we've seen schools that have done that. So we've seen both sides, Cyber Operations Branch, this is what my branch does. Cyber Incident Response Coordination. If something bad happens, yeah, we can stay there with you. We have law enforcement. We have all the state agencies that can help. Cyber insurance. When cyber insurance comes in, they're going to talk about attorney-client privilege, right? So they still don't tell us who their clients are, but it's kind of interesting how it comes out. Because usually they'll kick out the state, and sometimes, a lot of these clients will actually keep us in there, keep us engaged, because they don't want to be alone in this, right? Because it's good to have somebody that doesn't have ulterior motives, right? For us, we'll just tell you how it is. My team also does cyber forensic analysis. If you guys ever have, remember so let me tell you something. Everything on this slide is free. I got to mention that. It's free. These are free state services. We all pay for it indirectly by being a resident of California. So if you have something that's deep in your network that gets popped and you want to find out how, you might want to give us a call. Especially if it's deep in your network and you're wondering, how did that get hit? Because it's the cockroach syndrome. You squash one, there's probably a bunch more. So there you go, cyber forensics analysis. We'll do it. We'll take a look at it deep in there for free. We also do ad hoc vulnerability scanning. What do you look like from the internet? I'm going to tell you, there's something, a lot of us do OT in here, right? I've seen people expose OT to the internet. That's like putting a 3-year-old in Fight Club. It's not going to end well, I've seen somebody shut down a freeway in San Jose because they turned off the pump and nobody knew that it was turned off until it rained. Cyber Avengers, they were hacking a bunch of Israeli-made PLCs and putting, some stuff about some pro-Palestinian thing on it. The default password was 1111. And that's what they used to get in and deface it. And nobody knew that the pump was shut down until the freeway flooded. This was in the middle of San Jose sometime in December. So, nobody knew that it was hacked until somebody went to the pump station and go, oh, he got hacked, right? So we can do vulnerability scanning from the outside. Just give us your IP range. We can check it for you for free. And then we usually onboard you onto CISA Cyber Hygiene program. Yeah, go ahead. So what we do is you give us your IPs, and we run like a nested scan against it.
So you're looking for open ports, nothing secure.
Yeah. So if you talk about, if you go about it this way, like for hacking, all the computer networks are broken down into 7 layers of the OSI model. At the bottom is physical layer, second is the data link, next is the network and transport layers. Those are network transport layer, TCP, IP. So those are the things that people see from the outside. If you can see the first part, which is the open layer, that layer open, then you can see what's the service behind it. Those are the next layers of the service, right, all the way up to the application layer. So you can check what's behind it and say, hey, what's behind it? I've broken into things by using the default username passwords. So I come in over there, if I see an open port and I say, hey, what's behind it? I get something called a banner page. Once the banner page comes up, I go on the internet, I Google what that device is. Oh my God, it's 2,000 pages. I hit Control F for find, and I look for the word password. And it usually, I'm able to hack into it in 5 minutes, okay? That's the amount of time it takes to hack into these things if you leave default passwords. So I've done that before. It's fun. You kind of joke about it and you kind of go, what? And I always say, yeah, it happens. People are lazy. So right here, external vulnerability scanning. So we can do it ad hoc for you folks. You guys can, and we help you get on the cyber hygiene program. The other part is the bug crowd. Team of hackers that help us. So if your stuff ends in ca.gov, I know there's a mandate for a lot of counties and cities to get on .gov. Why not ca.gov? There's additional services out here. One of them is bug crowd, and I'll go over some of the other ones later on. The other stuff we do is assessments and consults. We don't do a really big one, but it's usually about an hour. People seem to like 1 hour. We just get in a coffee talk and just talk about all your stuff. A lot of people like to talk about their stuff, and I usually like to tell them how to fix it real quick, what's the road to fix it. People seem to like that, especially when there's no email involved. It's just that we just met and we just talked for an hour. A lot of people like to do that. Even if we did have anything, CalOS is actually protected by several laws preventing disclosure about what we talked about anyway. So we usually talk about NIST, CIS-18, and MITRE ATT&CK. Really geeky stuff. If you guys looked at MITRE ATT&CK, I think you'd enjoy it. It's about attack and defense into the network. We do net flow analysis. This thing over here is kind of cool because this is how we can tell how much data has left your network. This last place that this private law firm, I'm not going to disclose names, they lost 6 terabytes of data. Terabytes. And they didn't know about it until we told them. Yeah. So it happens. It does happen. We also look at, if we do these net flow analysis on your stuff, we can actually tell you if you're talking to suspicious IPs. All free. We also do dark web monitoring. We look for credential dumps. We also monitor the ransomware sites. So if you got hit by ransomware and think that nobody knows that you got hit by ransomware, it's on a dark website somewhere, published, so everybody can see. So almost everybody knows that you got hit by ransomware. So you can't hide it. So it's one of those things about, yeah, you think that nobody knows? Yeah, everybody knows. And also, we by default monitor ca.gov, okay? Incident response life cycle, this is basically, preparation, call it left of boom. Detection analysis, this is just a NIST framework. The reason why I brought it up is because this is where our services fit in. How can we help? We call this left of boom. As timeline goes from left to right, anything that's left of boom is you preparing to get hacked. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And so these are some of the services we can do. A lot of people think that cyber insurance will help the whole way. No, recovery is not included. They're just, some of them will be able to, contain the attacker and eradicate them. But that's about it. Law enforcement, you call the FBI, it's like real life. They just come in, grab a few evidence, dust for fingerprints, and leave. They're not going to pick up the glass. They're not going to pick up broken glass. They're not going to fix your door. it's still the same. They just grab evidence to make an arrest for the crime. So a lot of people don't realize that that's some of the limitations of law enforcement. And this is why law enforcement gets together with us, because we actually do something about it. I'm going to plug one thing that the state also has from CDT. It's one of our partners called SOC as a Service. So basically, they can monitor your SOC for a nominal cost. This is one of the things that CDT sells. They do people process technology. So basically, they collect data from a bunch of state entities. So a lot of people in the executive branch, CalOS included, we use their service. I'm only talking about, they're a partner. If I didn't believe in their service, actually, when they see something, they notify us too. So we actually have to help no matter what, because anytime anybody gets hit, as long as you're in California, we will help. And so basically, they've told me to slow down because I've been too effective at selling this. Usually, you only get charged for ingestion. So there you go. So they do planning, monitoring, and health checks. And that concludes my thing. And I'm pretty sure I let you guys go to lunch pretty early here. Any questions?
These for government agencies only, or it was the private agencies as well?
We usually do both public and we have helped private, depending on what you do and stuff like that, right? Like we've helped. Let's put it this way: we've actually helped small mom and pop shops, nonprofits. We've helped those people before. I remember when helping a small mom and pop shop. What they did is read the meters on gas lines, gas coming in, energy coming in. So what happened is they got hacked, and a major energy producer cut them off. And so what ended up happening is all the meters started reading 0.
Oh.
So everybody thought it was a hack that shut down the pipeline. It wasn't. It was just that somebody couldn't read the meters. So basically, the whole West Coast got spun up with the Coast Guard to say, "Hey, there's a hack going on. There's zero. None of this. None of the fuel is flowing." And they were doing that for a little while until I got on the call and I told them, "No. It's still flowing. It's just that there's nobody reading it. So it shouldn't say 0. It should really say no data." So that was one of those things that us working together kind of helped de-escalate that matter. So
thank you.
Yes, we work with the feds, CISA, HSI. Those are the 3 main ones that usually come up to us and say, "Hey, there's something going on." And so, like, I just talked to the San Diego office FBI agent a couple nights ago, and I was talking to him about, "Hey, when you guys do victim notification, why don't you put in a plug for us? Because if you come up to a lot of these victims and say, 'Hey, there's somebody in your network,' they don't know what to do with that, right? They don't know what to do with, okay, what do I do now? If they call us, we'll tell you exactly what to do now, and if you follow our directions, within a week, you won't get encrypted." Some people have done it halfway. They've gotten encrypted. So take our advice, pros and cons, especially when we do the forensics on it, like this, some of these school districts, when we do the forensics on it, we find out that they were about 3 or 4 days away from getting encrypted. So when you get encrypted, I don't know if you guys know about what happens during a ransomware attack. During a ransomware attack, all your data is encrypted. All your backups are deleted. And they leave this nice little note that says, "Hey, pay this ransom." Oh, by the way, one of the most gangster things I've seen these guys do is they print the ransom note to all your printers until you run out of ink or until you run out of paper. So I've gone on site before, and there's a stack of paper about this high of ransom notes. So, it's kind of like, I was like, oh man, that got these people's attention, right? So, yeah, so we work with the FBI quite close. Like I said, my FBI guy, he spends 2 days in the FBI at Roseville We know the FBI over here, down in the San Francisco area, down in the JERIC area. Yeah, we know a lot of the FBI contacts. So they work closely with us. They sometimes just say, hey, can you go grab some evidence for us? It's not going to be used in prosecution, but it's more used for, because to do prosecution for the FBI, you got to be CART certified. For our guys, it's more like, hey, go down there and just grab this so that we can get an update on the IOCs, the indicators of compromise that these attackers use. Go ahead.
Sorry, actually, I have 3 questions, but 2 should be pretty quick. So one is, like, I'm with the city and county of San Francisco. So if, like, you're a city or a county, municipality, something like that, or maybe a little bit larger city like SF, versus, like, a financial institution like a bank or maybe like a utility, I guess those would all be targeted with different goals or different reasons. But which ones are seeing, like, I guess, the higher number of attacks? And then I guess also maybe another point to that is maybe one receives a more sophisticated or advanced type of attack. And then related to that, number 2 is, I guess, is there a different source of the attack for each of those, like, your lone wolf or some private hacker community thing like Anonymous or something versus like nation state level kind of stuff?
Yeah, so a lot of them have, a lot of these advanced persistent threats or APTs have certain, clientele, so to speak, right? So certain people that they like to hit, right? So depending on where you are, that kind of defines who's going to be hitting you, right? Some people like to do schools because they're easy targets, they're soft targets. Schools, hospitals, especially hospitals. Hospitals has a lot of PHI data in there, right? So that's another thing too. Like, yeah, I've seen hospitals get hit. Yeah. And then as far as the ones that we help them all, but then a lot of them usually don't want to, because you got to remember, if you're a private institution, you are beholden to your shareholders, right? A lot of people don't notice this, but have you guys ever noticed that now a lot more private institutions are being outed because of the SEC rules? So the SEC rules are like, hey, if it's material to your stuff, you need to talk about it, because there might be a lot more of hidden liabilities behind it. So a lot of people don't know about these things. So SEC rules are coming into effect for private companies that are on the public, that fall under SEC rules.
Got it. And then the last question is, does the state offer kind of like a template or bare bones, if you will, kind of like set of cybersecurity recommendations, like especially for what I'm thinking of is like newer stuff like IoT, or is it just kind of, because something that came up for myself, this is not my area of expertise at all, but I'm radio infrastructure, so we deal with like a lot of interference from signal boosters and buildings, things like that, which are meant to improve signal, but they can be turned around or weaponized.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we wanted to get control over being able to shut those down when needed and that sort of thing. As a result of that, I knew what I didn't know, that, hey, we need to have some cybersecurity requirements for these, sent that off to our IT folks, and lo and behold, we're in the Bay Area, I'm thinking leaders in tech or something. We didn't have any existing requirements for that. So, and then it took about a year to get those back, and there's this one-page document that mostly just says, follow CISA, follow CISA, follow CISA. Is there a little bit more than that the state can offer as recommendations, or do they kind of do the same thing, defer to the feds on that?
Yeah, so CISA actually has a PDF that they sent out that's called Stop Ransomware. The problem I have with that PDF is that it doesn't tell you where to start. It's such a lot of stuff, and they usually don't talk about, hey, how do you do this, right? What are the impacts that if I do this, what's going to break? A lot of people don't understand about those things. So that's why we usually say, hey, talk to us. We can kind of help. The state actually has something called SIM and SAM. The state of California is a NIST shop. We have something called SIM and SAM. So NIST is not prescriptive in nature. Believe it or not, the crappiest stuff I've seen in it was 8-character passwords. And I was like, what? No way. But then they did come out and say something like, hey, you shouldn't arbitrarily expire your passwords, right? So that basically means that you really shouldn't get rid of passwords. So, how many of you guys change your passwords every 90 days? CalOS, we're going to change that. So that's one of the things, like if you're just normal user, your password shouldn't be changing every 90 days. That's an arbitrary thing. Why 90 days? So as one of the things, as one of my functions as an ISO is actually for the state, I actually put that into state code that, no, you don't do that, okay? So, and some of the other things such as the big passwords, the state uses 16-character passwords. That's actually 15-character passwords is the minimum for if your system can handle it. And that has to do with hacking. And I'm the one that set that. That's why I tell people in the state, they go, who made that 15? And I said, that was me, and here's the reason why. I don't do things without a reason. As somebody that used to steal passwords, break them on the side, this is why it's 15. At my 2 state agencies that I was the ISO for, I broke the passwords for their golden images on top of their laptops. So I was god of the laptops every time within 1 month. Of course, I told them how to fix that. But, but yeah, that's one of those things, right? Any other questions? Did I answer your question? I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, so if you want SIM and SAM and stuff like that, have somebody in your IT department can reach out to us, and what we could do is I can talk to the state people that have control over it to see if I can release it to another public entity. Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, but your public entity, how many people here work for a public entity? Show hands. Did you know that if somebody does a PRA on you asking for something specific about your computer systems, you can actually say no? A lot of people don't know that. There's a gov code for that. That if somebody asks for you for that. I've seen somebody in some of those counties asking for, hey, I want to know what my election security looks like. So you can imagine, right, being a contentious election year, that came up like about last year. Somebody asked that, yeah. Okay, well, that concludes my slide deck. I hope you were entertained. Hope you forgot about lunch for a little while. Thanks all.
Well, thank you very much. Trying to not get feedback. So we're going to go ahead and break now for lunch. Once everyone's grabbed their food, I'll be doing the door prizes, and then there will be frequency coordination and operations meeting at 1 o'clock. So feel free to grab drinks back there. There's a cooler with drinks and food all on the table, so enjoy.